So we have stopped recording.
I call to order the May 17th, 2023 meeting at HALRB. Jump in
John Aiken. Omari Davis.
here.
Robert Dudka is excused. Alex Foster. Carmela Ham, excused. Jerry Laporte.
Here.
Jen Lawrence is excused. Bob Medden.
Here.
Becca Meyer. Katie Myers. Mark Turnbull.
Here.
Andrew Winchell. And Dick Woodruff.
Here.
Okay, we do not yet have quorum.
If I sit in 2 seats, can I count twice?
No. We need one more person.
In that case, let's move on to the chair's report.
Okay.
Nothing on that. Chair. I guess the first thing we'll open up. You're going to send around the goals and the plan. So anybody have any questions about the sort of resources plan? Questions or comments or any discussion items? Figure we'll do sort of check in essentially once a month until the plan's actually corrected out. So like this sort of an informal forum actually to actually discuss the plan typically at the close of the day. But are there any questions or comments about the plan at all?
I have a question. Did you all send them to all the civic associations? As the information, the links that you sent to us?
You had a send out mass mailing?
Well, that was for the open house.
I asked Amanda Davis if they would send them to everybody. But kind of makes sense, doesn't it, to ask the.
I think you did sign up every single civic association chair for the newsletter, and it went out in the newsletter. And so they always receive it that way. And all the RNAC, Arlington Neighborhood Advisory Committee, they also receive it. So it does go out to people.
Yeah, okay.
I'm wondering if, on that line, if you could send it to the Civic Federation. I mean, I know it's mostly neighborhood associations, but they also do have other Arlington organizations that are members of the Civic Federation. I don't know if you could ask them. I don't know if they, send links of information to their members, but if they would, I mean, like the Rotary and all these other people are members of the Civic Federation, and who knows which organization might have some guidance.
Okay. No, that's a good suggestion. We could definitely follow up on that. We have a communications plan for our plan that was developed by our communications staff. And so at the very beginning of the planning process, and then we update it regularly, is how we're conveying this information, how we're sharing it, who's getting it, how. And I don't remember this being a specific kind of action item in terms of distributing it directly to civic association organizations, but we can clarify that and see if that's possible. We did do that for the open house and for some of our event planning, but not so much for the plan itself.
I think in the language for that, there were, I definitely link to
Okay.
this itself, but I think
And we realize the plan is a very hefty document. It's a lot to get through, a lot to digest. So we wanted to offer this opportunity monthly until towards the fall. If any of you had any questions, we could clarify things, we could talk about different topics. So it's kind of your time to take advantage of asking us questions that you might have.
I have a question. In terms of, I guess, participation between different sort of county departments and groups, has there been any sort of like receptivity towards that? I mean, I guess that maybe groups that are not typically thinking about a sort of preservation, have they been approached? I mean, I know this plan and not yet station, but has there been any sort of, I guess, discussions sort of prior to things being formalized?
About the plan itself or about how we could partner? in the
About
future?
partnering in the future.
Yes and no. I think one of the main success points of our work since the original plan in 2006 was the level of internal partnerships that we've been able to cultivate. And some are our standard partners that we've worked together for a very long time, and others are newer. And so the plan does emphasize broadening not only those internal partnerships with different groups in the county government structure, but also within the community. And so I think there's some ideas about how we can improve the internal and the external partnerships laid out in the plan, as well as how that gets implemented. So short answer is yes, I think there's definitely interest in that. And I think the more that we can build those partnerships, the more effective we can be as a program and helping achieve preservation goals beyond our circle of preservation. So it's a good question.
I know you're going to get to this in your, but so far with the public outreach you're doing, have any kind of feedback yet? What's been sort of the feedback?
Well, the plan's been out for less than a month. It'll be a month this week, I think, yeah. Month tomorrow or something. So we have not done a lot of the analysis yet for the feedback that we've gotten. We have several avenues for people to comment. They can be online questionnaire, the feedback form rather. They could have come to the open house. They can come to any of the pop-ups. They can contact us via email. So there's lots of different ways for people to be engaged. And we're going to do our best working with the communications team to be reviewing comments and feedback as we go. We prefer not to wait until the end of the public engagement period to then start sifting through it. We want to understand what some of the sentiments are. So that's really going to be a work in progress over these next couple months, sifting through the feedback and questions that we've got.
It's just kind of a small question, but like, what is the difference between open house versus pop?
Do you want to do that one?
Sure. Well, pop-ups are supposed to be a lot of an open house and get more targeted outreach that is like direct event that you can go to that we can advertise fully. Pop-ups are supposed to be a little bit more casual, like I was saying. There's kind of two different versions of pop-up. The first one is that you can go to a pre-existing event like the county fair or the blues festival that's happening. Like you can tag along to those events and that would be considered pop-up. But the other type is a little bit more organic. So for example, Cynthia and I and our policy team member Rachel were at Arlington Library yesterday evening trying to get information from people that were walking around, going to the library, going to any of the restaurants down there. So they're not advertised as fully because we want to engage with the people that are already in those spaces, if that makes sense. So we're going to a couple different parks, we're going to other library spaces, but a lot of the remaining pop-ups that we have planned for right now are also tagging onto pre-existing events. Like this weekend, we're going to the Arlington Neighborhood Day. I don't know if that's happening, but they're having a neighborhood day. So we're going to go to that. And then Sunday, we're going to the Plunkett Pike Farmers Market. So that's another one, but they're very casual setup, just trying to engage. We are
Informal, going to where the people are as opposed to expecting the people. Good question.
Is a good question.
I actually wrote that from and I was like, I wasn't sure I knew what the difference was.
Yep.
Anything else, anybody else? With that, I'll turn the floor over to Jerry. Do you discuss the Wakefield Manor?
Yeah. Are those?
Serena had slides and things pulled up. I'm not sure. Where
I
she
can.
went to.
I send them to you in the chat.
About this last month. I'm
Yep.
the HLA representative on the site plan review committee for Wakefield Manor. Those who may not remember, we approved Wakefield Manor. Just thinking through the last couple of days, aside from the Pentagon and Arlington, Wakefield Manor may be the most important historic building that we have in Arlington. It's by a world-renowned architect. It's at least the top 10, if not. Anyway, we put in a lot of effort to develop a site plan so they could use what's now the parking lot to build a high rise that would complement the original structures. And I think that was approved about 2011, something like that. And that's the down back at the on the lower left. Once you slide up a couple more slides, get to they start showing some pictures. This is the slides from the March 27th meeting.
This one,
I have all of them.
Okay, I think the
So
March
this one-
27th meeting, that's, oh, yeah, these slides, okay.
and do you want to go through them?
Go back. I think these are from the 50.
Yeah, I uploaded both, so can you just, if you go through, there's many.
Yes,
So if you.
let me. Okay, that's the historic Wakefield man.
Is that right in Corpus?
Yeah, right.
This is, number one is what was approved back in 2011 or so, maybe 2012. But you'll see there was a real effort made to try to have it complement the original structures with the roof lines and brickwork. And then, nothing happened. They sold it to a new developer. And also there was also these are supposed to be garden apartments. Okay? So we spent many meetings on this, as I recall. I don't know how many of you were here at the time, but trying to,
I remember.
okay, trying to have this, high rise complement garden apartments so that they fit in. And, I think it was a fantastic plan, what we came up with. But unfortunately, the property was sold to a new developer. Doesn't think that they can make enough money building what's pictured in number one. And so this is what this is the old building that we approved left. And this is the one they're proposing now, okay? So, this is going to the planning commission soon, and I could go, those are essentially two, and so I told them I thought that the HALRB would probably send a letter of opposition to amending it, although, it's a tough fight, okay, because the developer, but one of the things they want to do is now they say the market has changed, okay, and they want what's selling apparently is roof decks, okay, so they want to put roof decks up there with clear views for it, which doesn't really complement the roof line that they had before. So that's the central issue. Also, they're making it quite a bit bigger. So it kind of last night somebody's on Monday night, I guess it was, the sun will, some of the residents of Wakefield Manor were there. One of them said the sun will never shine again on Wakefield Manor because this building is going to be, but anyway, whichever one was built, the sun would not shine on it. So I don't know if that's a legitimate, but I think the failure to try to make it look like the old buildings and keep the garden apartment look is what I'm concerned about. This is what was approved before, okay, on the left. And you can see how there was a lot of green space. On the right is what was proposed in March, and the upper left-hand corner of the building, you'll see they were proposing that to be a grilling deck for the, that's on top of a parking garage, okay? One of the things that they've done is with this new design, they're promoting, people in Wakefield Manor are upset because they would, under the original design, they would lose all their parking. There's now 42 parking spaces on that, and they're apparently filled every night. Okay, if you get home too late, you have to park on the street. So as part of this new design, they put in a parking garage, which is actually above ground. Okay, and 30 of those spaces, there's actually two garages. Okay, the garage that's above ground in the upper half of the building there, it has 30 spaces, and they're going to be devoted to Wakefield Manor, and that's an attempt to, yes, get the support of the current residents of Wakefield Manor. There's a couple of them there that were there Monday night, and they said most of the people are gonna move out because they will probably have to pay for these parking spaces, so their rents are gonna increase, and in 2 years are in construction, sort of unclear where they're gonna be parking their cars. This is all, I mean, it's possible that they'll find a parking garage they can use. I don't know, but this is what one of the, just quoting what one of the residents said, that a lot of the people have Wakefield Manor. Surprising to me, they've been there for 30 or 40. This guy spoke on the night has been there 10 years, and he says one of the newer residents of Wakefield Manor. It's considered affordable housing, and another thing that they've done, I don't know if this was determined at the time, but they are having affordable housing here, and they've taken all the affordable housing and put it into the new building. Okay, so to meet their affordable housing community benefit standards, they're not going to include the old Wakefield Manor. That's going to remain as market rate affordable, I guess you could call it. So they're putting all the affordable housing in this new building, and I think that's one of the economic arguments that they, in order to get this much affordable housing, that's why they have to make it bigger. So so that's that was the deck, and they've changed the deck. And how do I get that? Good. That is now that was going to be concrete, and it was going to be, it's actually above ground level, and the people from the building who would be using that grilling deck would be looking down on the people walking on the sidewalks. And there was a lot of pushback from the SPRC on that. So they've changed this now. So that is mostly going to be like.
What do you want to do?
I
You
want to
wanna
get
go
to
back.
the May the 15th slides. I'm in the March 27th.
So I think keep advancing, keep going forward.
You sent me 2 slide
Yeah.
shows, right? They're
Yeah.
one after the other. It's not the first one, it'll be the second.
So I think you're in the May one. You're in the May version.
I am.
Yeah, I believe so.
Not seeing the slide.
I think
Before, but
just
they
on-
have changed. I guess that they've changed. They showed a different slide, but you'll see that part up there where the deck was, the grilling deck has been slimmed down, and they're going to plant trees there. So that actually increases their tree coverage. So they're above 10% tree coverage, which is, I guess, what their goal. So it's not all. I mean, they have a self-interest in putting trees in that spot also, because it helps them with the people who are. I mean, we're concerned about trees, but some of the parks people and environmental people are concerned about trees, and so this sort of gets them to get bought in. Right, and there's a big move to. Another thing. They're going to plant. And this is when VDOT changed. I guess that's Courthouse Road, on which Wakefield Manor sits. Down at the bottom, that's going to be Fairfax Drive, and that's an urban cul-de-sac. So people are going to pull in there, drop off. The entrance is going to be at the corner, and they're going to be able to. There's going to be some parking in that cul-de-sac, and they're going to go in and turn around and go out the other way. So it's kind of a modern, a new idea, okay, that they're putting a urban cul-de-sac in there. But anyway, so that's where we stand. And one of the things I was thinking of, under the site plan that we approved, it doesn't say that if they propose a major amendment to the site plan, that the HALRB should review it, okay, which is kind of surprising to me. I think it might be an oversight, okay, but Lauren talked about this last time. So, we have frequently had developers come and make presentations to the HLRB, even though they don't have to. So I was thinking, and I don't know what the correct protocol is here, that either the HLRB or the staff I talked to Kevin Lamb, who's the planner on this. I talked to him about this idea that, we could possibly invite them to come and make a presentation because, I'm not an unbiased person here. Okay. And if they want to come and make a presentation to the HLRB, we need to say why they think this is reflective of the historic Wakefield Manor. I think I would welcome them coming to make a presentation. They're not required by law, but they might voluntarily want to do that.
Do you know the time frame for the site plan?
I think it's coming in September, so, for the county board, so, because they don't have the planning commissioner or the county board dates
No,
set.
but we would want to have a presentation
No, no,
before
no.
the planning.
So we could fit
There's
them
some
in,
time.
we could fit them in June, we could fit them in July, we
Right.
could even do it in August, so, probably should do it sooner if we're hoping that we can try and make it more, influence to the design. But Kevin mentioned to me that he had the conversation with you. I also am waiting for the county attorney to get back to me on guidance within the easement, because you might recall that the trash, basically the trash dumpsters, they are allowed in a certain area and that's changed. And so in the easement, they were omitted from needing to be reviewed because they're like, well, the trash is going to be in this location, but that's changed now. So I think that even though that's minor, it technically needs to come, I think, to here for them to be able to get approval on the location where they're going to have it. So I'm waiting for the county attorney to get back to me, but I can definitely talk to Kevin to see about getting them to come to an HLRB meeting. So,
One
Yeah.
good thing about this design is you see where the Fairfax Drive cul-de-sac is. That land over to the left in the corner. There's a lot of utilities underground, so they can't plant very much there, but there's a lot of discussion about animating that and making it into a park, more like a park. And I think that would be good for Wakefield Manor because as a result of all the changes that VDOT did, the sidewalks, the planting strips have been taken out. There's no more trees along Courthouse Road.
Right.
They're gonna plant some trees up on 13th Street there. I think 5 trees or so to help because, now this has nothing to do with developer of the new Wakefield Manor, but they're trying to, improve the site for the residents of the old Wakefield Manor. So there's discussion and it's, I guess it's DES and there's 2 different departments
Yeah.
with Arlington and they're sort of not clear who's going
the
to do.
transportation and the transit team are, I believe, the ones who are working on that. And I think that Fairfax Drive, I like to call it lumpy. It's the little, they're gonna make it better. So,
Yes.
So it's nice if those improvements can happen during the construction or after the construction, something like that. So it's nice to coordinate that.
This is the SPRC is actually the one that asked them these questions. And the last time we had a meeting and they sort of said, well, don't talk too much about that. So I think this is actually to make that into a nice park-like space to the extent that they can. And that would, I think, contribute to the historic character of the garden. They can do it right.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking that in our letter, we could ask the developer to put up a historic marker for Wakefield Manor because, it is an important building. I went online and it doesn't have a Wikipedia page. I wish it did. I'm thinking about writing a Wikipedia page for Wakefield Manor because, people don't know about it. Okay, it's really a hidden gem of Arlington, and we probably can do a better job in, advertising its historic character and nature. And one of the ways would be to put a historic marker explaining the Mesropian architectural heritage and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a beautiful complex.
Yes.
The brickwork design. It's very intricate. It's really, it is sort of hidden because it's just sort of like another garden apartment, but it's really not. It's completely like, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
When we reviewed that several years ago, did the developer come in as a courtesy? Did we have any real authority there or? Well,
I think it again, because of the fact that they were gonna do the TDRs, that they had to come to the, because that's one of those things that kind of written into the code that this body needs to be part of the discussion to give a recommendation to the county board. But I think that I'm going to assume that might have also been the beginning of us trying to do more involvement with our site plan projects and really having you all visited. So I mean, I don't think that that's going to be an issue whatsoever to have them come and talk to you all.
Yeah, the one thing I found out, I was doing a little research online nights ago. This actually went to the Virginia Supreme Court. Arlington County tried to tax the TDR rights because it took a while for the TDRs to be transferred from this site to the Wendy's site. So in the interim period, Arlington County had argued that they had produced value for the, and they got a lot of money for those TDR rights to move them to the Wendy's site, and they tried to tax those. And the Virginia Supreme Court said you can't do that. So, which interesting. In the Supreme Court. I don't remember that going through. I'm surprised when it popped up in my Google search.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And yeah, all of, thank you for focusing on so much detail to it. And I'll get in contact with Kevin, figure out when we can get them on the agenda if that's possible. And also get clarity from the county attorney on the kind of discrepancies in the easement to what's being proposed with this new site plan amendments, and just keep you all posted. But seems like Jerry's doing a great job keeping you all posted. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a while since I've been on SPRC, and I'm surprised that,
Like riding a bike.
I mean, it's just that, we're just a little corner, there's so many other different commissions there. Yeah, everybody's got their own. agenda.
Yeah.
I sit there most of the time.
Yeah.
This is for Wakefield
This-
Manor.
Wakefield Manor.
Jerry, you get an A+. You get an A+, gold stars.
Yes, please.
Welcome everybody again. The September state regulation. Now requires certain kind of nature of the hearings of a private environment. Usually for members of the evening. Today's meeting is available. Option for the speakers, listener connectivity hearing. Your device muted and video off until you're called to speak. Public speakers are not, public speakers not sponsoring items. For public speakers not sponsoring items on the agenda, pre-registration to speak online. Speakers such are available in the room for people on you to speak after the presentation. Meeting chat is active, so listen to speak. All voting will be done by call of the roll. Lastly, today's public forum. Today's meeting is a public forum. Today's meeting will be recorded and posted to the county website. All information associated with today's meeting, whether written or spoken, is subject to the free requirements. That will move on to the March 2023 minutes.
Just interject real quick. Did someone say it's hard to hear virtual side? So I'll just
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Drama voice.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. All right. Now we'll move on to approval of the March 2023 minutes. Any questions or comments about?
Will we approve them?
Second.
Yeah.
All right, please respond yes if you support the March minutes. Mr. Aiken,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Laporte,
Yes.
Mr. Medin,
Yes.
and Mr. Turnbull.
Yes.
Sorry, Mr. Woodruff.
Yes.
That's unanimous.
That will move on to the consent agenda items. There are 2 consent agenda items. Are there any questions or comments about consent agenda items? So hearing none, I move we approve the consent agenda items. Okay.
Mr. Aiken,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Foster,
Yes.
Mr. Laporte,
Yes.
Mr. Medin,
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull,
Yes.
and Mr. Woodruff.
Yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Well, now we're on to the Barcroft Apartment Section 3 renovation item.
No,
Sorry.
the field. We have a park naming first. Is that what John is on? Who's doing that?
Hi there. Yeah, good evening. My name is Max Ewert. I'm associate planner with the Department of Parks and Recreation, and I can present on the park naming.
Great. Go ahead.
Awesome. So I'm going to share my screen just because I have my notes up. If that's fine with you. Appreciate your patience. Hold on one moment. All right. Are y'all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Alrighty. Good evening. My name is Max Ewert. I'm an associate planner with the Department of Parks and Recreation, and I'm here today to discuss a proposal to name the baseball field at Highview Park to Alfred Foreman Senior Field. On the screen now is the field at Highview Park, framed by North Dinwiddie Street on the west and North Cameron Street on the east. Reverse that. Oh no, never mind. I had it right the first time. Sorry about that. North Dinwiddie Street on the west and North Cameron Street on the east. So to remind folks about the county naming policy, the county naming policy requires that county facilities, including parks and, in this case, a facility within the park, shall generally be named according to the geographical, historical, or ecological relationship with the site. The commission will seek comment from the HALRB, RNAC, and appropriate neighborhood civic associations. The applicant in this case is the Halls Hill Highview Park Historic Preservation Coalition, has reached out to the Highview Park Civic Association and the Langston Boulevard Civic Association, who are both in support, and I have passed along a formal letter of support from that civic association to Serena. In this proposal, the applicant is seeking just to name the field for Alfred Foreman Sr. And is not interested in entertaining other options to name the field. So Alfred Foreman Senior Field, the proposed facility name is to honor Alfred Foreman Sr., who is a native Arlingtonian who lived in the Highview Park neighborhood and whose family continues to live there. Alfred Foreman Sr. worked as a DPR employee for over 25 years, primarily working at the Langston Brown Community Center, and was deeply involved in the athletics program at the nearby facility. Additionally, the Preservation Coalition are working with historic preservation staff to apply for a grant to have a marker erected in his honor. In the image on the right, the proposed banner with the field name is outlined in red, and the location of the marker is outlined in orange in the foreground. DPR staff would work with Parks and Natural Resources staff to ensure that these proposed areas are in line with the county's policy for athletic fields. Yeah, that's pretty much it. To just kind of go through the request milestones. In April, we attended the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting to consider other proposed park facility names. Last week, I went to the RNAC, and where they voiced their support for naming the baseball field. And now I'm here at the HALRB meeting. After this, we will return back to the Parks and Recreation Commission for a formal vote on the proposed name before going to the county board for full approval in July. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Yeah, thank you very much.
You.
To provide a bit more context, just so you guys are all aware, I learned at the RNAC meeting that I attended last week that and in my research in writing the report for this proposal, that the historic Black neighborhood of Highview Park and the historic Black neighborhood of Green Valley have kind of had this friendly rivalry, and a lot of what's motivating, I think, some of these proposals here is because the fields at Jenny Dean Park were also named for local local historic figures, I guess would be an appropriate way to kind of describe them. Folks who did a lot for the community, and honoring them in this way is their way of kind of giving back. So yeah, thank you.
I think that the naming of those nice nods, I guess, that also to have, that sort of met Green Valley at their challenge to name something too. So appreciate that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing come to questions, I guess. So I move that the HLRB support the naming of the baseball field at Household Park to be named Alfred Foreman Senior.
It's in,
And that's and let me redo that. HLRB, I move that HLRB support the naming of Alfred Foreman Senior Baseball Field in Highview Park.
All right, please say yes if you support the motion. Mr. Aiken,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Foster,
Yeah.
Mr. Laporte,
Yes.
Mr. Menon,
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull,
Yes.
and Mr. Woodruff.
yes.
Okay, that's unanimous.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for your time this evening, and have a good rest of your night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
With that, we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is the informational session about Park Apartment Section 3 renovation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to give a brief staff report. And then after that, we'll hear from the DRC, and then I believe hear from the applicant who's all joining us right now.
Is one of you screening or you with me?
Okay. Alice, if you could give her.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think I can just share.
Yes, you should just be able to share. Wasn't sure which presentation.
You want to just introduce yourselves real quick so we don't make it weird?
Sure. Hey, everybody, I'm Lauren Riley with Walsh and Lucci. We're the land use attorneys representing the applicant, Jared Lynch.
David Hildy with Jared Lynch, VP Development, overseeing the Barcroft project.
Alice Hageman, Jared Lynch, working on the Barcroft project.
Bill Bonstra at the Bonstra Hair Center.
Also got a few folks online as well. We've got Laura with Traceries, Jeff Krebs with FICA, and then Antoine with Bonstra Hair Center as well.
And we may have a couple other colleagues of ours from Arlington County that might be listening on the call. And if we have any difficult questions, we might put them on the spot. So we will let you know.
Please
So,
do.
all right. So I'm just going to go ahead and just get into it. So the Barcroft Apartments, many of you know it. It's a historic garden apartment complex located along Columbia Pike Corridor between South George Mason Drive and South 4 Mile Run Drive. It has about 1,334 units within the complex. Barcroft is identified in the Columbia Pike Neighborhoods Area Plan, also known as the Neighborhood Form-Based Code, casually, which was adopted by the County Board in 2013. Just as a recap, the neighborhood form-based code is an alternative zoning district that applies to multifamily residential areas along Columbia Pike that surrounds its commercial centers. When projects are utilizing the form-based code, they first are required to receive a use permit from the county board. Barcroft is identified as a conservation area in the neighborhood form-based code. In the case of Barcroft, the applicant is required to follow specific standards for conservation areas as identified in Part 7 Conservation Area Standards. Standards also require applicants to meet with the HLRB a minimum of 2 times before the project can be considered by the county board. And just as a sidebar, Part 7 of the Conservation Area Standard, they're based on the Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. So read one or the other, you're going to get close to the same thing. Concerning other policy focuses, Barcroft is ranked as essential on the county's historic resources inventory, known as the HRI. When properties have an essential ranking and are applying for redevelopment or major exterior changes, projects require review by the HALRB. Same approach goes for projects in conservation areas needing HLRB review to assess conformance with the form-based code conservation area standards. December 2021, the county board provided a $150 million loan to support acquisition of the property by Gerald Lynch Real Estate Partners. This county loan will support the preservation of all Barcroft apartments as affordable units and address immediate repairs, add amenities, and make property upgrades. Tonight's presentation by Gerald Lynch project team is currently working with the county on a pilot renovation program focused specifically on Section 3 of Barcroft apartments. This pilot program, if it's successful, it will serve as a template for future renovation projects. Just so you know, Section 3 of Barcroft, and I imagine Lauren's going to have a good rendering showing all the different sections. If not, I didn't mean to call you out, but it's okay. Section 3 has multiple buildings numbers 22 through 29. This renovation project is expected to be considered by the county board in July of this year. And just so you know, the Gerald Lynch project team is applying for affordable housing tax credit financing from Virginia Housing in September of 2023. And applying for this type of financing requires a county board approved use permit, which is why the team is aiming to present to the county board in July. So just a little bit about the proposal. Since Gerald Lynch is presenting Section 3 renovation scope to the HLRB tonight, it's kind of an informational item. There's no action that needs to happen tonight by the HLRB. However, the HLRB is being asked to provide high-level input on the proposed renovations, such as feedback on the proposed rear building additions, their massing, exterior cladding materials of these rear additions, and the proposed window fenestration schedule and pattern. The Gerald Lynch project team will be revisiting the DRC and the HLRB for the June meeting cycle to provide more details on the renovation program. So we wanted to break this up into 2 parts. And the things that they'll be talking about hopefully in June will be things such as the materials of the windows on the additions, proposed alterations to the original buildings, such as window replacements at the basement stories, new exterior lighting, entry canopies, and landscape alterations and furnishings. The renovation of Section 3 includes the construction of new subordinate rear additions on buildings 24, 25, and 26. Proposed work will be consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and the conservation area standards for the neighborhood form-based code. These additions will include new interior space such as living rooms and bedrooms. The architects have maximized the number of windows in the rear additions for residents to benefit from the natural light and enjoy the views of the surrounding mature trees. And the project team is also proposing more improvements to the buildings located in Section 3, such as repairing and cleaning the existing masonry and repointing work. They're going to repair the existing slate roofs. There are air conditioning units kind of within the elevations in the buildings, and they're going to remove those. They're going to find new locations for these systems, and they're going to repair those openings in the walls with matching brick, if possible, using salvage brick. It depends, but they're going to make it, we'll make sure it looks good. We'll be able to see it. The addition of small exist vents will accommodate new mechanical systems such as laundry, bathrooms, and all of that will be done on the rear elevations only. This renovation scope will also have to follow the specific specific requirements from Virginia Housing for certain exterior and interior design aspects, since the Gerald Lynch team is applying for this affordable housing tax credit financing. As such, there are certain aspects to this proposal that do not meet the neighborhood form-based code conservation area standards, but given the historic nature and importance of Barcroft, the Jared Lynch team is in the process of seeking exemptions from Virginia Housing for some of these requirements. We'll be working with them closely to see how those discussions are going along. The DRC did see this project at their May 3rd hybrid meeting. The applicant explained how the renovation proposal would convert 18 two-bedroom units into 14 three-bedroom units, which will add approximately 200 square feet to those units. And then four-bedroom units, adding approximately 335 square feet. I know you're going to cover all of this, Lauren, so I'm sorry I'm stealing your thunder.
Yeah, make it quicker for me.
So it'll be just a summary recap. The DRC members were asked to provide design comments on 3 items: the massing and compatibility of the rear additions, the material cladding on the additions, and the quantity and configuration of the windows located on the additions, particularly their pattern placement and fenestration design. In general, the DRC thought that the placement of the additions on the rear of the 3 buildings was appropriate if the ridge lines of the additions were lower than the ridge line of the existing buildings. That staggering the additions was a good approach because it reduced their bulkiness. There was some concern about the double brick pattern near the roof line of these additions, but it was indicated by the applicant that this was to provide more differentiation between the new construction and the historic buildings. Concerning material cladding on the additions, the DRC thought the use of brick was appropriate, but was interested in seeing more options. DRC wants to make sure the additions can be differentiated from the historic buildings. And there was some discussion about the additions half circle attic windows. That the additions half circular attic vents were a bit too large, but the shape was appropriate. And lastly, the HP staff, we asked that the DRC weigh in on the window quantity, pattern placement, and fenestration design. The architects proposed large double hung windows flanked on both sides by smaller double hung windows, all of which could have a 6/6 fenestration pattern. We're going to change the screen.
Okay.
Oh, no, sorry. Were you?
No, it's just as your video stopped working.
Oh, no.
I don't know what that means.
I can still see what is on.
Oh, okay.
I was just worried the technical stuff was continuing.
Okay.
Sorry.
And then also the DRC said they were comfortable with the 6/6 pattern, but was unsure about the 3-window grouping as being appropriate for a bedroom space. And we've requested that the applicant provide a couple more options to look at. So now we can go to my recommendation. Recommendation at this time is that the HLRB is, you all are going to be asked to provide your feedback on proposed renovation of the 3 buildings. In section 3, be able to provide feedback to the renovation of all the buildings, as well as including the additions of buildings 24, 25, and 26. We hope that the HLRB can provide discussion to focus on the massing and materiality of the new additions, as well as the configuration of the windows in the additions. But from staff's point of view, we don't have any concerns about these 3 focus areas that were presented to the DRC and that you'll see tonight. The proposal follows the guidance in Part 7 of the Conservation Area Standards. It also follows the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation of historic properties. We agree that the proposed exterior restoration plan is appropriate and sensitive to the character defining features of Section 3. Proposed additions, which follow Standard 9, they are compatible in design to the existing historic buildings, will not detract from the scale or massing of the existing buildings. And staff, we just agree that it's compatible design of the additions. They can be distinguishable from the existing architecture and supports the preliminary. We basically support the plan. That's kind of my summary. Sorry for all the apologies. And I know it's going to be a bit of a recap that Lauren's going to give you, but that is the conclusion from that.
Ready for us?
Marty, did you want to provide any other feedback to the DRC?
Pretty much summed it up. I mean, I think that we were generally pleased with the massing and the implication of conditions, materiality as well. I mean, there was materiality, was sort of a disagreement was the sort of we were of two minds rather about sort of about sort of like the sort of tertiary additions, being either brick or a clad something. And there's also some discussion about the size of the half round window vents as well. So I mean, I think generally, Lauren summed it up, but those are sort of our takes on things. But generally, we thought that the design made sense for the application. We were pleased. Interested to see what the HLRB thinks as well.
It's okay if you can't see me.
We're wondering if
Can
we might be
you
able
stop
to.
sharing for a minute?
Yeah.
We're having another technical difficulty. The video froze and we want to try to get it working.
I think as long as the presentation portion seems to still be working, I just don't think that the video is basically frozen, so they can't see us like interact.
But they can
with each
hear.
other. I'm asking.
Want me to try to like turn it off and turn it back on again?
Or like you could turn off the camera and turn it back on.
I think in order to do so, we'd have to shut down the whole thing, so I don't want to do that. Okay, Mark's saying you can hear, so let's just go, if you want to reshare
Okay,
your
go ahead,
screen, we'll just deal with that, and sorry, folks, that you can't see us acting in real time.
Everyone just say what you're doing.
Next time, come to the meeting in person.
You're building
We
that.
all look very
We
beautiful.
don't have to block the camera. Come over.
Blocking the camera.
Get going on.
the screen.
We get going on our presentation. Lauren and HP Lauren, as I like to call her, and Omari gave a good overview of what we all talked about. CD. Everybody see? And so tonight we did in kind of a broad overview of who Gyre Lynch is, how they came to the site, where the site's located in Columbia Pike, and then I'll hand it off to.
Speak up, please.
And then I'll hand it off to Von Hairsign to walk you through the architectural design details. We've also got some updates from our DRC meeting. You know, you guys asked us to provide some renderings, some color options, new window fenestration options. So we do have those at the end of the presentation. Unfortunately, we weren't able to include them in your packet that you all got before, but we can go through those tonight. So I'll hand it off to David to introduce Gyre Lynch.
Great, thank you. And so as Lauren mentioned, back in fall of 2021, Barcroft Apartments, which has been known by the same family for since it was built, came on the market. It was the largest block of naturally occurring affordable housing in the county, and there's concern that would be taken away. And so we partnered with the county and the Amazon Housing Equity Fund to acquire this property with the commitment that 1,334 units would be maintained affordable up to 60% AMI for 99 years. So there was a great partnership. And part of that, it happened very fast. So part of that was we agreed to work on a master financing and development plan after acquisition to look forward to how those acquisition loans would be converted to permanent gap financing for affordable housing projects. So we've been working closely with the county on that plan. We submitted a initial proposal of ideas and how this financing would work and how the project would be phased over time. We submitted that in October. And since then, there's still a lot to work on. It's a 60-acre site. And we've been continuing to work with the county to refine that. And as part of that process, there's also a third of it to be developed, 2/3 to be preserved. And so there's a lot of discussion happening on that. So in the meantime, we decided, let's start delivering on the promises to residents, deliver them renovated units. Let's, as Lauren said, let's take a phase that we're sure is going to be in we know it's going to be in the conservation area. It's not going to be touched. And let's move that forward. And let's use that as a test case to learn about how this the MFDP will play out over the years. So again, this is our first time here talking to you on Barcroft, but you'll see us many times over the next few years. We'll become friends. You'll see us a lot. And so that's why we're here today, is this first renovation phase. As Lauren said, we're looking to move that forward, and residents are very excited. She mentioned some of the renovation scope. We'll talk about that, but washer and dryers, they've got a lot of smiles when we talk to residents about that one, but we're very excited to move this forward and excited to talk to you all tonight. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, David. As you and Lauren outlined, we've submitted that neighborhoods form-based code use permit for this first renovation phase of Barcroft. And this is going to serve as sort of a pilot program for how we treat future sections that we anticipate renovating or adding additions to. And so we filed that application about a month ago, and we're getting comments back from county staff. And the use permit application itself does require review by the HALRB, so that's why we're here before you in the DRC. Just to give you a little context on the engagement that we've had thus far, we met with the Form-Based Code Advisory Working Group on April 26th, and then we met with the DRC just a couple of weeks ago on May 3rd. Here before you tonight, and as Lauren said, we anticipate working with you on any design revision changes through June ahead of our July county board hearing. So I thought before we get into the architectural piece and design of it, I'd give you all a high level overview of where the Barcroft site is and what the scope of the project is. So here on the screen, you can see a map. You may have seen it before on some of your other Columbia Pike projects, but it includes both the locations of the commercial form-based code as well as the neighborhoods form-based code. You can see the entire Barcroft site there outlined in blue. It's a large site, as David noted, it's 60 acres, so it's a big, it's a lot to chew on. And just a small portion of it there on the west is located in the commercial code, but as you can see, a lot of it is located in the neighborhoods. And then zooming in there, this is the neighborhoods form-based code regulating plan map. You can see they're kind of on the edges of the site. Those are designated for redevelopment, with the remainder of the site they're shading green is designated as a conservation area, which in 2013, when the code was adopted, the conservation area was intended not only to preserve historic areas along Columbia Pike, mainly Barcroft Apartments and Fillmore Garden Apartments. It was also created to further incentivize affordable housing on the Pike by allowing additional density for projects that preserve historic features and design elements. So while some of the site is slated for redevelopment, like David said, about 2/3 of it is slated to be preserved. In the scope of this application here tonight, we're just talking about these 5 buildings at the corner of South 4 Mile Run Drive and George Mason Drive within the conservation area and not anticipated to be redeveloped. Then a brief overview of the historic Barcroft. These existing garden apartment buildings are historically significant. They were constructed in the 1940s and the 1950s, both during and after World War II, in order to relieve housing in the region. There's about 59 buildings and some associated structures on the site today. These are all good examples of mid-20th century garden apartment design with a more simplified colonial revival style. The whole Barcroft site was also constructed in 2 phases. First phase came in the early 1940s. Notable features there include brick walls, slate roofs, and more ornamented entry surrounds. Phase 2 came a little later in the late 1940s and early 50s. That's more of a modified garden apartment style. It has larger parking areas, reduced landscape areas, asphalt roofs, and more simplified entry surrounds. Next slide. And then here's that exhibit Lauren mentioned. This image kind of visualizes the history of Barcroft. You can see the 2 phases there outlined in blue and red. And then each of the whole site's been broken down into individual sections, and the buildings are color coded based on when these buildings were constructed. So you can see our site in section 3 is circled in red there in those pink buildings. So we are buildings 22 through 26 in section 3. Just constructed in 1943 and 1944. And I'll note that we are just in a portion of section 3. It includes more buildings, but we're only concerned with those north or page left of South George Mason Drive.
I'll just add Lauren here too. apologize that we're kind of switching orientations, but the site is so big,
Yes.
we always leave off the tail. So you'll see some, this is Columbia Pike, this is north. Form-based code goes north on top.
Right,
of
we
that.
don't
So
want to cut off the bottom
Yeah.
section.
I think the form-based code does cut off the bottom section. So we're trying to just get you oriented on it.
Here's an aerial image of the whole site. You can actually start to see the differences between phase 1 and phase 2 and how the buildings are laid out. You can see our site there shaded in red. And then on the right, there's a more zoomed in version aerial overview of these existing buildings, again, 22 through 26. And here's some existing photos. So these are buildings 22 and 23. They're just set back a little far off the block on south 4 Mile.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I hit them switch up all the time. Then here we have buildings 24 and 25 that are there right there at the corner of 4 Mile Run and George Mason Drive. And you can start to see the topography that we're working with. And then lastly, building 26, which is just a little bit further east, South George Mason Drive. You can see there in the bottom right photo, those semicircular vents that Omari mentioned that we've got some ideas on the additions. We're going to be mirroring that. We've taken DRC's feedback and reduced those sizes.
Lauren, if I could just point out on that upper left photo, the combinations of windows. There's paired windows. There are single windows, there's paired windows, there's triple windows with a larger window at the center, and then some other doubles there. So we have an assortment of window types that we're sort of mining from in our ideas for the new facades.
Next slide. So with our form-based code use permit, we're proposing to renovate the exterior of these buildings. David mentioned a few interior renovations that are coming. Those are outside of the scope of this application, but are very positive things for the existing residents there. And so we'll be performing exterior renovations as well as adding some additions onto the backs of 3 buildings, 24, 25, and 26. So today there's 93 units across these 5 buildings, but they're all 1 and 2 bedroom units. So with this application, the applicant's able to take some of those 2-bedroom units and convert them to 3 and 4-bedroom units to be a little more family friendly there. As Lauren and David mentioned, all of these units will be committed affordable housing units. And then the total will not change. It will remain 93. So the additions are just, they were also encouraged by county staff to create some more family friendly units in the Columbia Pike area. And then we've also got some additional landscaped courtyard there behind building 22 to provide a little more gathering space for. Then here's a summary of our applications. I know it seems a little overwhelming, but it's really broken down into 3 parts there. First, our form-based code use permit that allows the building renovations, the additions, as well as that landscaped open space. We will be requesting modifications of the form-based code to allow for the existing parking and setbacks, things like that of those existing buildings to remain. They were built and then the zoning ordinance changed, so there's something not conforming. We'd like to codify here. And then, as Lauren mentioned, we're also requesting some modifications of the conservation area standards to comply with the Virginia Housing Affordable Tax Credit financing applications. And so that includes things like vinyl cladding, additional openings for vents, and canopies at the entryway, and vinyl cladding of the wood trim. I'll note that.
Can I ask why that's necessary? I don't plan.
Yes, and I'll let Alice or David get into the Virginia housing requirements. But first, I just wanted to note that some of those new openings are all going to be on the rear side, and they're to provide, not only ventilation for the new units and the additions, but also to upgrade the existing really old PTAC and boiler system, heating and air. So while we will be getting rid of the boilers, we will be keeping the chimneys on the buildings, but we'll need to alter the openings, taking away some of the openings on the front, filling those in, but also adding some on the back. And then I'll note that Gyre Lynch for those last two items, the cladding and the entryway canopies, due to the historic nature of these buildings, they will be requesting an exemption from Virginia Housing for those two requirements. However, we won't be able to hear back on whether or not Virginia Housing accepts that request until after our July County Board hearing. The earliest we would know is August, latest would be October. So that's why we've kept these elements in our application submission. We don't know what that will be until after July. And then I'll let David or Alice talk a little bit more about why they want the final.
Yeah, I think the Virginia Housing in general is looking at this as, public financing, the longevity of the structure. So they view in general wood trim as less durable than vinyl trim. So put vinyl, they're making more durable, longer term. But I think we have like Lauren mentioned, those are two we can request exemptions for. We think it makes sense. I think we've done it, or Cynthia, I don't know, some of the other projects that it seems like they've achieved that. So we're going to be requesting that.
With, both the county and our consultants, that will be, I'm optimistic we'll bypass that, but as Lauren mentioned, we need to make sure we're being transparent about the nature of the requirement.
Yeah, just to kind of say the exact same thing. There has been another one of our partners in Arlington County that does affordable housing that went through this process and was able to successfully get those exemptions because the Department of Historic Resources, just the State Historic Preservation Office down in Richmond, they will be communicating with Virginia Housing on why the exemptions are necessary. At least I'm assuming that is the way. They'll be in a room, they're going to duke it out. Like I'm just kind of envisioning what it would look like. But not only is Barcroft recognized in Arlington County as a historic structure, historic complex, but that it is on our multiple listing National Register nomination for garden apartments. So therefore, we already have it identified as a historic resource that the state recognizes. We have all that documentation to support DHR to state why the exemptions are necessary, but we can't assume the timing doesn't work out when we're trying to get this going to be able to get the approval from Virginia Housing for the effects, all those kind of things. So that's why we're being very clear cut. But I think that there can be things that we can do administratively from the HLRB giving message to the county board of wanting that situation to work out in the area we would like. Not sure how that's going to work out just yet, but we'll be communicating to figure out how that would work.
To wrap up my portion on timing, as I mentioned, we'll be coming back for the DRC and you all again in June to discuss those items more earlier. And so now I'm going to hand it off to Bill with Bonstra to walk you through the architecture.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, go through a couple slides, the specific summary of the renovation work. The rehabilitation of 5 buildings, 22, 23, 26. And just to emphasize that all our addition work are subordinate to the master architecture there, and that's how we've approached it. In terms of some of the specifics, repair, cleaning, and of existing masonry, including repointing, shown in number 1. Repair of existing slate roofs. Reminded that we do have some areas where we're going to be using the slate where the new roofs overlap. And so we have a great opportunity to mine materials, the original materials, to a little more seamless approach there. The PTEC units, which you see in 3, those are through wall units that will be removed. And the brick that we mine from some of the other areas will actually fill those areas. We've done this quite successfully in the past, and patch those openings. And then in the rear of the property, and we'll show another elevation where we're going to do work with the ventilation exhaust vents on the backside, which are quite small. Next slide. Continuing on, the number 6 are the windows and the basement. They're going to be replaced with vinyl windows to match the existing windows. that was the best approach in dealing with those windows. Number 7 would be repair in kind, gutters, trim, shutters, any corroded lintels in the brick. And in number 8, which is the general note, remove those set discrete sections of the existing property where we're going to attach, and we'll show you how that's all done in some future slides. Antoine's with me, but I don't think we have a connection. Say, you ever get the connection?
Hi, Bill. Yes, I am here.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Well, you're coming up. You ready?
Yes, no problem. It is nice meeting you all, even though I'm not in person. So this is really a typical elevation of what we're looking at in terms of penetrations and new penetrations at the rear facades. So this is building 22, but the work in terms of the number of penetrations per unit and the sizing of them will be consistent throughout building 22 to 26. So if you want to zoom, we can see how those new vents are laying out on the facade. So as you can see, we try to minimize their impact, and we are thinking about using brick vents. And if you go towards the right of that slide, you will see what a brick vent are. Essentially, these are louvers and vents made to fit within the module of a brick, or 2 bricks or 3 bricks, depending on the size that we need for the system. So these are 3 different types that we're showing just for information and how they would fit within the existing brick pattern. The idea behind this is really to minimize their visual impact and aesthetic impact. So really for that slide, that's it. And again, no new penetrations on the front facade, which you can see on the upper drawing. And this is a slide talking about the idea of salvaging and reusing materials. So on the upper drawing, you'll see all the PTAC units that we were talking about before and that we saw in pictures. They are shown dashed because all of them throughout building 22 to 26 will be removed, and as Bill said, will be infilled with the salvaged brick in order to match the existing surround. What you will see in the drawing at the bottom is the impact of those new additions on the existing facades and the demolition of these existing facades that will take place for this new addition to be built. So just to give you an idea, all these gray areas are approximately 9 feet wide, and they all fit within a 2 window module. So this gray hatched area is really what we're gonna touch of the existing facade and what we're gonna demolish out of them. What you can see in the dashed line on the roof is the footprint of the new roof of the addition and how it will impact the existing roof lines and the existing roof surfaces. So again, the idea is to salvage these slates, which are for the most part in pretty good condition, and try to reuse them as much as we can. And if not possible, as it says on the right, we will properly source the material to make sure it matches the existing character of the existing materials. And yes, that should be it.
So this
Again,
is thank you, Antoine. I may call on you again. Stay tuned. This is a site plan at another orientation, which will make it even tougher for you. But we're just testing you. You can see where those additions are. That will create the 3-bedroom, 4 units, either nestled on the backs of building 25 and 26, or on the back side, but building 24, or projecting piece. And again, I guess that was taking eight. We affected 18 units to increase the number of 3 and 4 bedrooms. Next slide. This is the massing study that we used to show the relationships of the new pieces. We have long bar buildings that run longitudinally, and then we have also wings that turn counter. We did the same with these additions with roof lines. We felt like we would be best just to join at the ridge at the same height because the geometries get very hard when you're. We think that it'll certainly be a subordinate approach. And so then you can see those in that slide. Next slide. This just shows, this is the line of the original building here. This is an example of one of the wider pieces that we're putting on the back, and you can see this was the footprint of the unit. This was the living area of both living areas of both these units. 2-bedroom become a 3-bedroom and a 4. And this is the offset, which I think everyone agreed was a proper way to modulate those pieces with a good, 1.5 to 2 foot offset. Whatever the material be, we'll show you some examples of ideas we have how that is handled.
I think we also want to include this interior layout to help with the window review process, so you can understand what the use of those bump outs or the additions, which are, living spaces throughout the 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms, and also the bedroom space for the 4 bedrooms.
Antoine, you want to talk about building 26?
Absolutely. So on the top elevation, you will notice that we had these vent penetrations on the front facade. You can disregard that. This was just to show what we previously shared during a previous presentation. And these were the impact of those vents at that time, but we worked it out and we do not have any vents anymore on these facades. On the bottom drawing, you can see, maybe you could zoom a little bit on it. So building 26 is a little different in a way that on the right addition is really the typical one where, right, so if you draw an imaginary line at the roof ridge, you have 1 unit on each side, and these are 3-bedroom units. In the left addition, this is only 1 unit. So the whole volume is 1 unit per floor. And they're also 3 bedroom units. This was done for proportion reasons. So that piece of building 26 and that addition is a little wider than a typical 3-bedroom to fit within the landscape and to fit within the surrounding a little better. You will notice too that the roof line at this addition is a little lower. And the reason behind this is to keep the proportion and the same slope throughout. So we have a constant proportion throughout the different additions and throughout the site. And as you can see, we're showing a brick to match on these typical additions. And you can also see the 6/6 windows and the minimal number of vents that will be created in those rear elevations. We are also planning to add some detailings in the brick to differentiate the new additions with the existing architectural language. So we're very respectful of the existing, and we're also trying to add some detail and some more contemporary pieces to the design.
Can I interrupt for a second? Can we zoom in a little bit on the windows? The lines are kind of blurring.
Yeah, and we'll have better,
I think we have some better.
You have a better shot. Actually, the next one is a better shot.
Follow, just wait.
It's, and we can go back.
That's, thanks.
And
any more on this side, Anton? Okay,
oh, it wasn't the next
we'll get, it's
That's
two
all
more.
right.
following.
So we can talk very briefly about these sections. This is really for, it's really to show you the relation between these additions and the existing units and how the floors are actually matching the existing heights and how we fit within the landscape and the grading. That's really the purpose of these drawings.
There's a larger photograph, a shot of the addition. That's the double addition. As we talked about, we do want to bring more light into the units, especially the living rooms. If greater light than we used to in the Victorian era, joking. This wasn't built quite that far back, but nonetheless, we also see a pattern of triple windows in living areas, not unlike the Chicago window where this window developed from. Except that the Chicago windows wouldn't have as many mullions. It's more of an American sort of colonial. As far as the secondary element, initially we thought of it more of a sleeping porch, which might have paired windows or triple windows, and could be in another material. So that's where that idea started, the modulation. It would still have a base, whether it had brick or not. But that was the impetus to it. I have a corollary that we hadn't discussed with anyone, but I do think there's a good option not to put the half round vents on the new pieces to really differentiate them in some way. I sketched for our wonderful client, another idea, which this would be maybe some inset brick, or that could be a vent as well, but you would do it sort of a triple that would be set in a peaked area, and that would go with the 3-part windows. So there would be something sort of put together, and I think we would like to differentiate the new from the old in some way, and this way and other ways might be considered.
You go back
Oh,
up.
sorry,
You go back up.
You want to?
I think just, so this is kind of where we ended the presentation with DRC. And got some good feedback on that what these next slides will show. So again, I think Bill and Lauren touched on them, but these windows we explored, like is 3 appropriate? Right. Is it 2? Are they separated? Are they gang? We have some studies on that. Again, as Bill mentioned, this form here, is that same brick? Is that a different color brick? Is it a different material? Is it wood? Right. You're asked to study that. And I think those were the 2.
We do have an image showing the reduced size of the semicircular vent.
Yeah, reducing this size is what we also studied on it. So we developed some more rendering, some perspectives that'd be easier to describe and communicate and talk through. So that's what we now have new on the end of this.
Yeah, and I think what we can talk about now or later is how we handle those accent portions, whether those are flush with the brick, just a pattern. You see something a little more subtle, not necessarily, projecting. Maybe the course at the bottom project because that's on the base course building, but then everything else could be plain. And again, keep it simple so it doesn't shout. It's not heavy, but it has some delight that maybe the existing. So in the window options, which for this bay piece.
I was trying.
Oh, that's
I'll go
okay.
through options.
All right, you can do that. So we're talking about these sort of secondary pieces.
This is building 25, right?
Yeah, building 25 is the only one with the 4-bedroom, and therefore the bedroom.
Yes.
section.
Yes. And in the Here we showed it all the same way with a different color, just to start. We say that's a 3-ganged window. This sort of, again, sleeping porch aesthetic. Moving to option 2, was it a paired window with a little more brick? So I can understand has some appeal given the amount of brick versus window. Then the option 3.
Just the separation.
Oh, the separation, so that we pull those apart, which is maybe a weaker corner, stronger middle, and then option.
Just all 3 of them next to each other.
Those are all 3 as examples. Many times as architects, we just have to draw all the options and we look at, ponder, and see which way it goes. I think any of those examples are worthy. If you think the 3 window is too much glass and not enough brick, the 2 window, I think I like that better, the paired window. That if there was a middle ground, that's the middle. Our team saying yes.
I just wanted to clarify, can you explain, did you only look at doing the 6/6 configuration as you were studying these different options for the windows?
Yeah, we have an older image with showing, I believe it's just 1/1s in this larger form of the addition. But for the bedroom extension and for this study in particular with the spacing, we
Okay.
just looked at the 6.
Thank you for clarifying.
It's an interesting question though, because what we know about windows historically, we had smaller panes because we could only make glass so large, right? So those windows were made probably less expensively because they had smaller panes of glass. Now we can make large panes of glass. And, you could say the new windows would be larger panes. 1/1s, that would differentiate them as well and also say they're built of the period at the time. So we can have those kinds of philosophical discussions. Maybe not the time. But anyway, those are the 3 options that we came up with. Then the other options talk about the materials, I think.
Yeah, first the attic vent sizing. So.
Okay, yeah, there's this.
And this is what you're seeing on all of the, color elevations and the rendering. We moved to a smaller vent across the board, but this is a good image because you can see the existing sizing in relation, adjacent.
So then this was about the facade material options. Option 1 would be have 2 different brick colors. The corners would be lighter, again, more like, that sort of porch aesthetic, put in brick and sit on a brick base. The option 2 would be the same. And, that would be more subtle, it would be more homogeneous. Don't see that differentiation as much, even with the setback. It might still look broad when it's. Maybe that speaks to the first one as a better option with the different color. And the colors don't have to be night and day, they could be more subtle as well. Any recommendations you might have, we would certainly consider. This was a vertical wood siding. This is my least favorite. I'll be honest with you. Vertical, probably known more as texture 111, which is probably not what we should call it, but it's evocative of. And the 4th one would be a horizontal siding.
There's a rack.
Oh, we switched.
We have renderings.
Not that you guys can probably see very well.
Yeah.
Sorry, but. Anyway, that horizontal lap siding would be a good option as well as, if you wanted to differentiate between some special.
And we can, like I said, we have renderings here.
And
And could you clarify for the wood, you mean wood, not like a fiberboard? Or that's undecided?
Well,
Say undecided.
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if we, put on vinyl. They want vinyl windows, let's hope they don't.
We've
want
got that
those.
on the record.
Yeah.
So undecided.
You know, the party board, actually, party siding is actually
Yeah.
quite durable and holds up well and takes paint, which is, you can paint it lots of different colors. Food. So this is, the lighter brick color, more of a beige with red. That's option one. This would be for both. Same brick. Again, I think that the water table be thicker, but maybe the other stripes. And the sills might be Rolox that are more strained with brick. I think our rendering style was heavy there. And then, yeah, there's your vertical. Siding could be batten verticals or lap verticals, lots of ways to do that.
I know you guys haven't had a chance to dive into these, so I'm happy to.
Yeah, and that would be what the party siding. Wood versions of it. My preferred one. 4/3.
That's it.
I think
All right.
that's it.
Love to hear your feedback.
So Omari, I think I'd like to suggest kind of going in the order that DRC did. So I think getting initial reactions to overall massing of the additions, scale, sizing, if you feel it's appropriate, and then talking about the material. And ending with window.
All right, sounds good. So let's just with the board here. The takes in terms about the massing. I think again, I would sort of reiterate that I think that I sort of same with what we discussed at the DRC. I think that the massing and locations, the additions are appropriate given the goals of the other comment.
Is that what we're in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Personal preference, I think the additions is great. And 6/6 lights with the 3 gang windows. That's what I like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, sorry, just to circle back on Cynthia's comment, I do have, if you guys will allow me to share real quick. This is that 1/1.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, just for reference point, bad timing with your comment, but.
Just to provide another layer of differentiation. Curious to see that.
Yeah, this is just something that was one of the original kind of drafts that we were.
The existing windows are 6/6.
Yes.
And just to, I know we're not supposed to talk about materials just yet of the windows, but the windows on these buildings in section 3, are they, most of them been replaced?
Yeah, right now.
Mostly all, yeah, the exception is, and I don't have any here, but the basement.
The basement windows, which we'll talk about next time. So right now, the replacement windows are vinyl.
Yes, already.
And just want to kind of point that out because I'm torn sometimes with replacement windows and the fenestration pattern, depending on what the material is also going to be. Let's say it's 6/6, but they're vinyl, and let's say they're not true divided light, then my opinion sometimes goes more towards a 1/1, just as staff perspective. But it's a discussion. So I just wanted to point that out.
Too. The big ones, I mean.
Yep.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. That might change what you all maybe suggest tonight. Talk about materials.
Show the axon again of the entire site massing.
The massing study, yeah.
Yeah.
Happy to zoom in.
Bob has his hand up. Looks like he wants to give us some.
Is there a backstory to the chimney?
It's where the boilers are located currently. So there are 2 boilers that serve all 5 of these buildings. One in the front here at building 22, you can see my cursor, and one back here. So those are the boiler rooms. And as we mentioned, the boilers will be decommissioned, but the chimneys will remain.
I also don't have a problem with massing at all. I think it's a almost project. I like the 6/6 windows as well. I like the design of the wood, but I actually think like quite a bit. I'm not really wed to the color per se. I like what you did with the other color. But I actually really do like the design. Thank you. Yeah, I think the mastic is good as well. I'm also 6/6. I think it looks better, but I like the sleeping porch concept, which you broached. I think it's a great way of putting it. Which is why I think either the light brick or the horizontal wood is fine. Those would both be kind of sleeping porch. I don't like the same color brick. I really don't like.
No argument.
Any thoughts on the, for the pastor gentleman, the quantity of windows on that sleeping porch extension? Any thoughts on whether it should be the 3? These 3, between these 3 options? Yeah.
Separated. I like the 3 together. I feel that continues the sleeping porch idea. So where it's all 3 together, option 1, that would be my preference. Oh, yeah, no, I'm sorry, that is actually
Sorry.
my preference as well. Yeah, I love the idea of the sleeping. Yeah, I do too.
Sure. Yeah, I like the massing. I think it's really interesting. As far as the brick goes, for material, it's good that it's differentiated. I do think that the fascia continue. I don't think in any of these they match. I think it's important that they're differentiated, but the red is distracting. The neutral, I think it just doesn't tie into the existing building because it's a different ridge line. I think it would be compatible to kind of match that white that's ridged roof. As far as the addition for the main not sleeping porch, I like what you're doing with the detailing for kind of that raised brick. I think that the entire thing could be a different color. If it's new brick, it's new construction, then let's not make it look like the existing. The massing is similar enough, but it doesn't need to be the same. As far as the windows go, I do think that proportionally the 2 close together still preserves the sleeping porch concept. It's enough light in that room. Personally, I think it ties into 6/6 is fine, but I echo Michael's comment. I think it's not true divided light, then kind of a distraction.
Yeah, I applaud you on the massing. I think you've done a wonderful job and you haven't stepped over the line and provided really good living space for people that we're hoping will stay in Arlington, make this home. I really like the sleeping porch aesthetic and because of that, I would be in favor of the 3 gang windows. I think that carries through on the sleeping porch aesthetic much more. And I don't at all like the idea of putting different brick there. I think it really is not consistent with the colonial viable aesthetic at all. And I would prefer the horizontal siding, I think. I think that's more consistent with colonial revival aesthetic with the 3 gang windows. And I also like the idea that you're making the fence smaller. I think that they were just too big. I mean, I do believe that you try that. Other principles by the Secretary of the Interior, you should be able to tell the difference. But if you try to overdo it, you sort of ruin the original aesthetic. I've seen people that, they put on these huge additions that look very different from the original. So it like overtakes the original. So I think we really respected the original buildings in the way you designed this, and I applaud you for that.
I think it's as far as the sort of the tertiary edition. I think I like the 3 gang windows with the horizontal siding. I think if the brick, I prefer option 2 windows actually.
Okay.
With brick.
With brick, yeah. So it kind of depends on the materiality of that portion, like what the window should be.
It has shoulders.
Yeah,
It holds together. I think
yeah,
if you look at it long enough.
yeah. Almost like a lantern there. A little bit glazed lantern. The brick though would almost be a little more solid.
I think the 3 gang windows work well with the horizontal siding.
Exactly.
For that reason, opposite of it's dematerialized.
Yeah, precisely, yeah.
You don't want to dematerialize brick.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
I do appreciate the smaller half round. I mean, I'd also be interested, to see the sort of tripartite underground funds.
It showed as an option. Price it.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us it's too expensive. Can't do it.
So Mari, you said you do like the siding, but it will depend on the material?
I like the siding, but depends on the. Well, I like the window sort of varies. The siding, I like the 3 windows. That's brick. I like the double windows. Yeah, so it kind of depends like what combination you use.
And do you like horizontal or do you like vertical?
The horizontal.
Horizontal.
For sure. In terms of the projected brick on the main body of the kitchen, I think I was kind of sold on the idea of sort of having projected brick on the base, but actually running that sort of course flush sort of at the it is a little heavy in it here.
Yeah.
It might be
too clunky.
Yeah, I think if it was flush, I think that would it would still add some light, as you say, but would also like a little bit less.
We can always look at also a texture. The textured brick would be different in the light.
Yeah.
In the sunlight.
Right.
And that might be a way to differentiate that more than just the pattern. But not as much as the projection.
Yeah, projection.
We're alwa't worried about water sitting on the top, so
Yeah,
projecting.
Yeah.
Water away from that. Since there's some architects in the crowd.
I just want to add that I do like, so with the brick bulk made and gray siding, keeping porch concept, not only do I like that it differentiates enough the historic structure from a HALRB standpoint, I've seen enough, recognize the whole complex. See enough affordable projects where not well done, very obvious it's an afterthought. That's not the case.
Just to kind of mention, I think we were told by housing that right now in this area, there's only 6 4-bedroom affordable housing units in, I think.
That's countywide.
Yeah,
I was actually,
Yeah.
it's countywide. So we'll bump this up to 10 now in the county. But it's a great way, but we're hoping that there'll be potential. Again, this is a pilot program. We're hoping there's potential for. Talk about that.
I'm on board with the massing. I'm on board. Thing of 3. Like brick. Excited about the light brick. Really like the.
You're in luck.
Do you want to see if there might be different, because we're seeing like a blonde brick, but we're seeing a very matchy terracotta brick. Do you want to see something in between? Or if you get vetoed?
Don't mind differentiation.
Okay.
But I don't think it should. Like, just the.
we have work to do on the brick. All around. Like,
I think we touched on everything. Unless anybody, do you all have any questions you'd like us to answer? Or
Do you have what you need going?
So those are any together, truly.
no, so. Answer. We have a little bit of flexibility there. We'll share any of that with anyone who wants to see progress.
I think we'll take all this feedback, you all at DRC, and kind of refine our design a little bit more. And we'll come back June, or you remember what the topics are. Then it's like materials overall, landscaping, and I forget what the other ones are.
Window materials,
Window materials.
any landscaping, site changes, lighting, any of the smaller details.
Are the brick vents, are they sort of flush bodied or
They're flush, they're extruded aluminum product.
Yes.
So they sit inner with the brick. And they're rigid, so they're not flimsy, they're. And then whatever happens, it happens behind it.
Behind, okay.
It has a bug screen, other stuff in the box.
Behind that.
Yeah, I mean, best way, project like this to deal with this. The dryer vents that you see in subdivision.
So what I have is that we'll be talking about the window replacements at the basement stories, new exterior lighting, entree, and I'm hungry. Entry canopy, entry canopy, landscape alterations and furnishings, but that's what I have. So if you need to alter that, that's fine. And I also just wanted to mention that July, although it would be tight, and I'm sure you'll be busy in July, the DRC will be meeting on the 5th, and the HLB will have a meeting on July 19th. So that I believe would be before the county board meeting in July.
Right.
So it would be tight, but it could be done. Just we can keep that as an option if more discussion needs to.
Right, and I think the goal for us, we have to get plans back into the county that are final in June, in early June. And then we can slip sheet kind of up until a certain point at the county board. So I don't know, at the DRC meeting, we could take some more feedback there. By this July HALRB meeting, we probably would be able to incorporate anything into the plans themselves, but we're certainly happy to continue cooperating with people on any refinements that we see later down the road. And we need to make any adjustments to the plans that do get.
Yeah, and I would imagine there might be some flexibility, not that I can state what the county board does, but I think it would, if you were to come back in July, but already have everything submitted and can't change it, I think if you then have that included in your discussion with the county board at the hearing, that you're still, I think that would be, I think that would really show goodwill, and they may also take that in consideration to how they vote with saying, like you to keep going back to the county, to the HLRB. I don't, again, they know what to do, but wanted to keep that on as an option.
We can do that. We can also present, if nobody's really falling on a particular design, we could get approved options. That's something we could talk about with planning staff as well, see how that might work. But let's see where we're all at in June, whether we get a good consensus on all these elements.
We're closer to consensus than
Yes,
I typically
right?
see in a group, and that's a testament to your ability to work together and communicate.
Thank you for
Bravo.
presenting tonight. I do want to acknowledge, thank you for your responsiveness. I know it was an extra lift to bring these other options to the group, but I think it really helped the discussion tonight. So thank you for taking that extra step.
Thank you all for your feedback.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you a related question? You know how many of the
Oh, David, not off the top of my And,
No,
but
not exactly. I mean, roughly,
roughly 2/3.
yeah,
Pull that up, but I don't.
I would say.
Let's go
I think
count.
it's a question none of us can
40.
answer.
We should be able to.
I think
We
this is,
stared
I
at it
think
long
the only
enough.
part,
Because some of the development area, like section 2 is much bigger. I would say.
All right, we'll see you all again in June.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.
you.
Hey, yeah. Right.
All over the place.
Yeah, yeah. So next is the historic marker review of Marguerite and William site facts.
Yes. So this, Michael is going to present. Whenever you're ready.
I just wanted to hang up our bigger version of it, and we also have smaller out than. And we've had some new people join us online. Apologies, our video isn't working currently, so all you're gonna hear are our voices.
Jerry. Wanted to ask is where the rooftop grills.
I'm going to give a little bit of background on this marker. So this request came to us from the Center for Local History. The original request was made by Marguerite and William's daughter, Carolyn Syphax-Young. She originally made the request with CLH, then referred it back to our office. And it's been a work in progress since the late summer and early fall of 2021. So it's been a little while. As you all saw or learned by reading the marker, Marguerite and William Syphax were prominent entrepreneurs and business owners in Arlington. They were the founders and owners of the WT Syphax Real Estate Company, which was a property development engineering and construction firm. And they also owned and operated the Syphax Management Company, which managed their various properties in Arlington and the surrounding area. So Mr. and Mrs. Syphax provided decent affordable housing for African-American residents of Arlington during the mid-20th century. They built a lot of apartment buildings, but they also built over 100 houses in various neighborhoods in Arlington. They also built commercial buildings and office spaces, but they really had an impact on the residential design of certain neighborhoods in Arlington. And it was their mission to provide a solution to the gap in the housing market for people of color in Arlington. That was really what got them interested in providing that service for the community. Both of them were also heavily involved in various community organizations and really gave back to the community in a lot of other ways as well, which you can see in the segment of the marker entitled Community Life. So I'm proposing that the marker will be placed across the street from the house that they lived in the Arlington View neighborhood, and that address is 1327 South Queen Street. I'm still coordinating the location details, the exact location details with the Parks Department at this time, but that's the general vicinity in which it will be located. So the draft you see in front of you has been edited by members of the Syphax family, the HPP staff, and then members of our historic marker subcommittee of the HALRB. And tonight I'm sharing it with you all for the first time, and I want to hear any thoughts that you have, any edits. If there's some grammatical edits, you're welcome to share those. You can share them with me in an email if you would feel that that's more appropriate. There's always the option that I can bring the marker back if it's needed or you all feel that it's needed next month. But I do want to say that we're trying to order this marker sooner rather than later because it has been a work in progress for a long time. So we're trying to keep the ball rolling on this one, but we welcome any thoughts that you have. Before I turn it over to the full board, I do want to see if either Mrs. Syphax-Young or Mr. Syphax are online, and if they would like to have they would like to share any comments or any feedback they'd like to share with the board, you're welcome to do so. If you're speaking, you're muted. To unmute on a phone, you can press *6 and it will unmute your phone.
like someone's trying.
Yeah, it does. Well, we can
Hello,
get,
Williams.
hi,
Hi.
do you have any
Hello?
comments you'd like to share? Yes, can you hear us?
Any comments, as far as the marker, like where would it be placed? That's what I was interested in. Would it be placed near the older apartments that is being renovated now, being redone, remodeled?
So the marker, I'm proposing the location to be right across the street from the house that they lived in at
Oh.
1327
Oh,
South.
gotcha. Yes, in the field there where the school is?
No, on the other, on Queen Street. So it'll be, when you're looking at the marker, you're going to be looking directly at the house right in front of you. There just wasn't enough
Okay.
in the right of way, right
Yeah.
directly in front of
Okay. Got you. Okay. That sounds great.
Did anyone else?
And I believe
want-
my sister,
Sorry, go ahead.
my sister's on. Carolyn? No, she must not be on.
That's okay. If she decides she'd like to
Uh-huh.
say something, she can interject.
Sure. Okay. But I reviewed everything that you had sent in an email and everything sounded great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes. Doing a marvelous job. And thank you. That'd be all for me.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Board members have any questions or comments?
The color, it could be a printed out version of it. It's accessible. I mean, it's kind of hard for me to read on it. It's.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, okay.
It might be better to look at this one.
Okay.
It depends on where you print it, the contrast.
Sorry.
I'll still double check it. I want to make sure, because you're right, it does print a little dark. I want to double check that.
One thing I noticed is some of it is justified and some of it is centered, so I think either way throughout.
There's a couple spots here. It looks like down here where it looks like it's hugging very close to like. Something. Just for consistency.
Brendan,
I think you looking at it. I just, the one thing I noticed now, you saw talked about in the middle paragraph, you say, at least my house would be built with carbon. Don't know it. I think you, without reading in context, I think you have to say, in this neighborhood of Arlington, people who are standing here won't necessarily know that they're, or something like that, or maybe Arlington was somewhere else identified it.
I'll double check.
Yeah, you need to say something to let people know that's where they're standing.
Thank you. I was lucky in that there were quite a lot of oral histories already done for them through CLH, so I got to pull a lot of information, and their entire photograph collection is actually there, which is why they're good photos available.
We didn't have that problem this time.
Yeah.
Finding photos.
You know, I just preface this by saying I think it's really do. In the first column, though, where you talk about him having served in the quote predecessor to the U.S. Air Force, he's probably U.S. Army Air Corps, and I think veterans would want to have it stated in that way because that's who they served. And they're probably honored to have served for that body as opposed to being, referring to it as the predecessor of the U.S. Air Force.
Okay, you said U.S. Army Air Corps.
I probably, because that was the predecessor.
But double check, because it becomes Army Air Forces during.
It's U.S. Army Air Force and then earlier.
I think the version that I said, he served in the Air Force, and when I read it, I put in the predecessor, so I looked it up and it changed names or.
Did
I
change.
knew he
Yeah.
didn't serve in the Air Force because the Air Force didn't exist at the time. It was in there, okay, so, but you can, if you want to put it rather than the predecessor. But I think family had wanted to say that he served in the Air Force, that's why I put. Hey, you could say.
They didn't serve in the Air Force. Either served in the Army Air Corps or the Army Air Force.
Right. Served in
The Air Force didn't exist.
I know, that was my point, okay, but if they. The family may want to say that he, in the original, they said he served. We know that's inaccurate, okay, so, but to give him credit for serving in the thing that became the Air Force, you might want to say something about which became the Air Force or something like that, if the family wants that.
I like the fact that there's an architectural plan here, but is there anything that's more legible or more, I don't know, it's a little bit, or, I mean, it doesn't need to be red per se, this is
The larger version.
yeah, I looked on that one, it's still, I mean, I don't want to say.
Maybe like a detail of the drawing. as opposed to
Yeah,
the full drawing.
yeah, just because it's, even on that one, it's still a little bit like, you can tell I can tell what it is, but it's still.
Quality is a little.
Yeah.
difficult on that one, but I'll play around with it. The point well taken.
I'd be a little bit of a nitpicky. 3 boxes. Bus here are different sizes. Have you played with trying to see if they look like it's the same size?
You're talking about the title boxes.
Yeah, just, only
So a consistent size.
sizing with it. It may or may not look better. It's not that big, but it
Doesn't bother me. If you make them consistent size, then you have on size.
And that part of the reasoning behind the different sizes is just titles are bigger on the last two, but I can look at it.
don't spend too much time on it. It might be.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah. I might just be looking at too closely.
That's what good editing is supposed to.
Any other comments? So I was going to ask, do you have a preference to see this again next month? Or are you okay with what has been presented with some additional tweaking as has been suggested tonight?
It was with, this one, I'm okay not seeing it again.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not screen.
So then we would need a motion. She's getting ready, she's multitasking tonight.
I move that the HLRB, the historical marker for Marguerite and William Syfax as presented with additional minor comments and edits as discussed at tonight's meeting.
I second that.
And I'm sorry, you seconded, Mark? Okay,
Call the roll.
great. Mr. Aiken? Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Foster? Mr. Laporte?
Yes.
Mr. Medden?
Yes.
Mr. Turnbull?
Yes.
And Mr. Butcher?
Yes.
Wonderful, unanimous. Great to get this done. Yay. We're excited too.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Get through everything. Right.
One last one. Offer fondest farewell wishes and thank you to Bob Medden, our backbench / guy at the table all the time. So definitely.
We're leaving? You leaving?
Yeah.
He's leaving us.
Leaving.
Yeah.
You just started.
You last month.
No, I was here, I probably wasn't paying attention.
Thank you, Bob, for your. Yeah. 5 weeks.
I can always join in. I won't be able to vote.
No, but
Yeah.
we can still get your commentary.
But yeah,
Yeah.
But
if you could.
are you gonna mute?
Oh, we can mute
But,
you.
but the more important question is who's gonna sit in your chair
Yeah.
when you're gone?
Or you're gonna have to sit in a corner in whatever room you're in virtually, so that we keep that.
You can always visit.
We'll save that spot for you.
Exactly.
Get a cardboard cutout.
I like that. I like that.
And also, if you sign up, you can speak for 3 minutes and we're not. After 3 minutes.
Say whatever you want.
3 minutes.
Yeah. So then I can yell at you if you go over. Stern.
Like you just started.
Yeah.
Yeah, we drove them away this quickly.
I know.
It's almost a record for us.
You got appointed to the planning commission or something?
Got appointed to a higher rent district.
Oh, you're leaving Arlington. Where you going? Sorry. For you.
Moving on.
Thank you.
Okay, so I will try to do this as quickly as possible, but I have a couple important updates we wanted to be sure to share with the group. So first thing I wanted to mention, for those of you who were able to join us on April 26th, we had a special informational session with our consultant Jackie Barton to present the draft Historic and Cultural Resources Plan. If you were not able to attend that, the recording has been posted on the HLRB website, and if you would encourage you to take a look at that. We also, I think for those who were there, I think you would agree that we had a really good conversation that evening, and you all gave us some really good comments and suggestions to consider. And in other items related to the planning process, wanted to remind everyone that, as we said at the beginning of the meeting, that we still have a few opportunities for volunteers for various engagement this spring and summer. So if you are interested in helping with any of that, please contact Michael directly. And she was going to give us a few highlights from the recent open house that we held on May 6th.
So we hosted our open house on May 6th, and it was really successful. I do want to thank Omari and then Joan and Katie who are here today for volunteering. A lot of help. But we were able to engage with a lot of brand new people, and we had a lot of really quality conversations. I was running around like a crazy person, but I know that they all had very in-depth conversations. Folks who had to talk to us and knew about our program, which was really the point of the event. So we were very happy about that. And we also had 2 county board members stop at the event, which was so they're aware that the plan is out there. So that was all that I wanted to say about.
So looking ahead, though, in terms of our engagement, we are going to be presenting the draft plan to the Long Range Planning Committee of the Planning Commission, otherwise known as the LRPC. That's happening next Tuesday evening, the 23rd of May. And HLRB members are welcome to participate at that either in person or virtually. And particularly for those of you who were not able to attend your special session in April a few weeks ago, we're going to be covering most of the same presentation for the LRPC. So that might be a good chance for you to get up to speed on the plan. I think that's everything related to the plan, with one kind of plea I wanted to make, and a reminder. You know, the HLRB plays a really important role in historic preservation in the county. And this really is a very good opportunity for you as a commission to give us feedback on the plan as well as to help us champion the plan going forward. So just wanted to remind you all that the plan is laying out the priorities and goals that we are trying to accomplish for about the next decade. And you all play a very important part of that. So being able to provide input in this community engagement process, you are then thereby helping shape the direction that historic preservation will be going in the next couple of years. So just kind of keep that in mind. And if you haven't already, we really would encourage you to go to the county website and fill out the feedback questionnaire related to the plan and related to the direction that we want to take the program going forward. If you've taken if you've answered the questions already, wonderful. If you haven't, please take a few minutes to do it. Share it on your listserv, share it with your neighbors, share it with others you think would be interested in it. And everyone has until June 20th to complete that feedback questionnaire. So we would appreciate your help promoting that in the community. June 20th. Yep. Okay, so I think that was everything on the plan, unless anyone had further questions about any plan things. Okay. The next thing I wanted to mention, because I know there have been questions about it in the past, wanted to talk for a minute about the Historic Preservation Fund. So as you'll recall, this is the inaugural year for this, and we were really excited. The application period closed on April 28th, and we received a total of 19 applications. And so we are eager to begin the evaluation process. We've already had one internal meeting with the various interdepartmental county reviewers. And so we are going to be making decisions on the grant awardees over the next couple of weeks. So we will report back to you sometime later this summer with the results of that. Anything you want to add on the fund?
Okay. How does that process work?
So as part of the framework that created the grant program, the county board has allowed designees of the county manager, so basically county staff, to be able to review and score and select the projects. So right now we have a committee of 5 county staff across 3 different departments who are going to be reviewing everything and doing the scoring. Next, wanted to mention it's not on here, but the budget. I know we have been talking a little bit about the budget in previous months. So unfortunately, the fiscal year 24 budget that the county board approved a few weeks ago did include significant cuts to our consultant line item in the Historic Preservation Program budget. It actually means that we have lost over $43,000 for this upcoming fiscal year. And as disappointing as that is, it just means we need to kind of rethink how we're going to approach tackling some of the major projects that the program needs done. I wanted to extend our appreciation to the HLRB, especially you, Amari, who had come to the county board work session when the budget was still in a draft form, and thank you for trying to plead the case on our behalf. We do appreciate it. And the last thing I wanted to mention in terms of my report, wanted to mention some sad news that we received recently from Arlington Public Schools. Some of you might have remembered Benjamin Bergen, who was one of our colleagues. He was the assistant director of, just make sure I get it right, design and construction in the facilities and operations section of Arlington Public Schools. And he recently passed away at the beginning of April. He might be a familiar face to many of you. He was instrumental in helping get the local designation for the Stratford Junior High School. We also worked with him on the Stratford Commemorative Trail. He had brought the interpretive panels to the HLRB a few times, as well as most recently, he and his colleagues came with some renovations to the Swanson Middle School. So we learned that there will be a celebration of life for him this Saturday, for those who might be interested, on May 20th at 11 a.m. And it will be held at the Columbia Baptist Church in Falls Church. Ben was a true ally to our program, and we're really good. So I wanted to make sure you all. Yes. All right, and then closing us out. All right. Everyone can like rally for just a few more minutes. It's been a long night. Get up and walk around.
So I thought of sharing this. So, I. People on the call will not be able to see the windows that are set up, obviously. However, I did want to. So, Colonial Village is one of our local historic districts. They have hundreds of windows. In 2015, the HLRB passed guidelines to allow staff to approve window replacements, so that they didn't have to come to you every time. We passed design guidelines that have kind of a range of measurements, so any window that fulfills that measurement could be approved. Historically, Colonial Village has used paradigm single hung kind of they're called hybrid windows because they were single hung, but you could actually move the top sash with a screen. But however, paradigm has stopped making these windows, and so the Colonial Village Board has appealed to us to try to help them identify which windows can fulfill these guidelines or which could be approved or do you think are appropriate? Because we have 7 windows and none of them fill the criteria. So I have, this is what is currently installed. So these are examples of the paradigm hybrid windows. Obviously it's not great detail because it is image on a screen, and there's a photograph that I took 3 years ago. And we can't get a sample because they are no longer making them. So, however, these are the measurements, specifically of the hybrid single hung. And so these measurements were then used for the design guidelines, which we have some copies of, and I will pull up the dimensions for. None of these windows fulfill every single one of the ACOA design guideline measurements. And so I have measured all of the dimensions that we have on the design guidelines, which I'll pull up now. So if you could look at them and kind of give me an impression. So all of them, not all of the samples came with the muntins that are going to be on the outside. They are allowed to have simulated divided lights. It's not required to have true divided lights. We have all vinyl except for one clad submission. So in 2015, the HLRB passed design guidelines saying that they were approving vinyl. Wood was also allowed, but that most of this was to allow people to get vinyl because they are replacing these en masse. They're 11 windows at a time. And I guess fiberglass and clad were not part of the equation. I'm not sure why. They currently have aluminium windows from the 80s. And this is what is failing that they are trying to replace, at least get a better insulation barrier. So these are the windows you're going to be looking at. As I said, all the muntins will fulfill specs. If you're looking at it right now and you're like, no, it's interior, it will be exterior. But otherwise, we want to be looking at the style, thickness, the rail, and then the thickness from the glass to the casing. And so I would note that this line is where the capping is going to come in. So this is how here, and this is the only amount that would be visible. So I've written the dimension there. And so I will pull up the measurements and have you look at these. I would note that the closest window is this paradigm single hung, which would not allow for the double hung window. So windows are double hung largely because you're meant to pull them up and down, which allows the cool air in the bottom and the hot air at the top. So if you have single hung windows, it doesn't really work in the same way for the actual physics of the window operation. But also these screens are inset. And so they look quite different from the windows, the screens that are outset. And so that's the main difference that makes these like less appealing, but also they are stable. But overall, these are the windows that the board has been considering. This was submitted by one of the Colonial Village residents. They applied with this new window that isn't a paradigm single hung, it's an earthwise. And the contractor said it was going to fulfill the specs. It does not fulfill the specs. And so, however, the owner has ordered them or they put down a deposit now. There's kind of a struggle, so we need to kind of decide if these are going to be appropriate and if this is the kind of window that you consider appropriate for this space, as well as all the other ones. We have a request for the clad window, the Marvin Ultimate clad window. So the owner, well, the Colonial Village owner, this is one of them. The Lovgrens, and she is kindly accepted this to and so this was also submitted to us by a resident. It's a clad window. The main difference you can see here is 3.5 inches, which is much thicker than the bottom of the ones. However, they are interested because if you'll notice, there are far fewer lines, far fewer seams, much easier to keep clean. The interior is also a lot cleaner and smoother, and then the stack is actually over the button, which means they don't have to worry about them. So that's something they're interested in. Also, they are interested in clad windows. And we have only approved vinyl in the past, and I don't know why we are there. I don't know why we didn't discuss fiberglass or clad, and I kind of wanted to open the conversation to how do you feel about vinyl? How do you feel about clad and fiberglass when we have allowed non-historic window materials in this location now for, I mean, even before 2015. So they've been getting, no one is moving toward the historic windows, and in fact, when it was designated. So let me pull up the measurements. Jerry.
Yeah, I see the two in the middle there don't seem to me to be simulated divided lights at all, okay, because the buttons are
Right.
facing, so to me, that's the most important thing.
So they're going to be on the outside. These are just the sample windows they could give me, and they're interior grids, but they will be exterior.
So that is an option that's possible.
Oh, my second question is the Marvin window seems to be gray rather than white, and is it available in more of a white color or?
I could certainly ask Mr. Donahue. I don't know how to use that. There's no limit on it. So
The others all seem to be sort of the same white, and I don't know what. So far, but that one to me, if you put that, even though I like the looks of that, except for the bottom, it looks to me like it would stand out because it's not really white, or it's a different shade of white.
I could certainly ask Mr. Donahue.
So Serena, just to get clarification. So we have this window that being proposed, right, the Marvin, for a separate project. We have this one that is kind of a separate one. This kind has been ordered by the customer. One maybe hasn't been proposed, but these both were considered around the time when the paradigm windows that they used to order are no longer available.
So yes, all of these are under consideration by the Colonial. They report to me by then, except these two that report to me.
Okay.
But so basically no new replacement windows have been approved since the paradigm stopped being. We thought those were going to fulfill the design guidelines, but it happens. The design guidelines are there.
So does it almost seem kind of like you should consider these kind of independently a little bit and then kind of come up with a grouping approach?
I think it's more, we need to consider per what's there right now, what is most, and what has been approved. So if you look at the design guidelines, what has been approved so far is a maximum of 2 7/8 inches from the glass to the edge of the frame. A rail, which is 7/8 to 1 1/4, a stile, which is 7/8 to 1 1/4, meeting rail 7/8 to 1 1/4, and then again 2 7/8 maximum width from the glass to the edge. And so that is what the hybrid is. So this is what all of these windows in Colonial Village, that is what they are seeing. So we have to decide how much discrepancy is okay. So like this, look, the design guidelines again. So from the glass to the top, 2 1/4. that fulfills the design guidelines. This 3 inch, it doesn't. It is 1/8 of an inch too large. This is 2 3/4. That is one. No, that is within design guidelines. This is 3 1/4 inches. It is 3/8 of an inch too big. And so everything is off by something. So none of them fulfill the design guidelines. So legally, I cannot. However, which of these varieties do you feel don't dive?
Would it be better to have also a range?
Yeah, that we have a range.
Like
So-
like a range of measurements? We have
Right,
that, we do have that.
Yes, that is what is on the screen.
Go
So 2 7/8 is the maximum. So you can go anything less than that, but all of these are more than that. And so, like this is, as you'll note here, 3.5 for this is quite visibly different from 1 3/8 there. Yes.
How many windows are we talking about?
I mean, per year, that would be changing. It's probably, oh, no, I mean, total, it's probably 700 windows, 700, 800 windows. And they change them out roughly, yes, like maybe 40 a year. So you'd be seeing 40 pop up, different looking windows.
Karen, how does it work? Do the individual homeowners just decide to replace their windows or?
Yes,
do they do
they-
building
yes.
by building, or-
It's condo owned, so the owners own their own common.
But they, like
They
a
have
lot of
to-
buildings, there's window replacement is something. HOA and gets all done together, so you don't.
Not-
have to-
They're
not
all
here.
condo.
Yeah, and so the 2 approvals are required. HALRB or staff, as well as the condo board. So it's a double layer of review for all these.
So the homeowner can't just go out
Correct.
and buy whatever.
Right, yes, they have to get both. And so that was the problem with these, was that this law firm came to me and he said, hey, these windows have gone out of use, out of production. Can you review these ones? And I spoke with the manufacturer who was like, yes, it's gonna fulfill the design guidelines. Perfect, this is what we need. They don't. So, however, they don't buy on each side 1/8 of an inch on the top and the side. And then let me closer to my own face. So yes, this is 1 3/4, which is, oh no, this is 3/4, which is 1/8 of an inch less than the meeting rail requires. That is 1 3/4, which is like 1/2 an inch too big. And so it is, what is the inch discrepancy that you are willing to accept? At what point is it too much? Like, is it 1/2 an inch now? And then in 2 years, when they make it thicker, then it's another 1/2 an inch until it's just teeny tiny, like windows for arrows. Like, that's impossible. And they're trying to protect.
The condo board expressed.
There a preference?
They looked
Yeah.
at all of these. I think they kind of talked about the paradigm double hung, just because I think they were used to it. We cannot specify a brand because that is illegal for us as a county board to do. It would be like preference something.
But we could change the guidelines to match the specs of that window.
Yes, and I hate to put this in the record, but if you look at our design guidelines and you look at the drawings of the paradigm, it looks like maybe we cribbed. So even though we say we don't have a preference, we stole the drawings. So yes, we could change it to include
Allegedly.
that.
Allegedly,
Previous staff allegedly.
There may have been.
Possibly alleged.
Maybe.
But then what dimensions are, if you look at the thickness of this compared to that, how much variety do you think will be visible to the naked eye from the courtyard, from the right of way? How much would make you notice that there was change? And then Does it matter? These are condo owned. Does it matter to you to think, hey, this tells me that different people own these apartments? And then finally, fiberglass and clad, we have, what do you think about those things?
I don't know why we don't make them all by wood windows like we do in Haywood.
Well, they weren't they?
They were already replaced by the time
Yeah,
they
so we
became a local district.
Can't do that.
It's,
Yeah, I know, but if you have windows that are replaced in Maywood, you have to replace them.
no, we allow people to.
Well,
replace
in
them.
kind, can be replaced in kind, and now you all have more leeway with the window replacement.
I mean, metal
Vendors.
windows can be replaced.
Yeah, with metal. Clad windows, if you have clad in your addition, you can have clad if you have vinyl in your addition. We even allow vinyl in bathrooms in historic areas.
Under special.
What do you
circumstances.
recommend?
Do I recommend?
Yeah.
You're a resident window expert. You knew that was coming, Serena, come on.
Yes. So I think that probably consider cost was vinyl was considered originally, I think, to make. I do not think that vinyl has life expectancy. Are we, by requiring either wood or vinyl, requiring them to get more windows, more fiberglass? In terms of the visibility, I can see a vinyl window even without my glasses. 1,000 feet. So it doesn't matter to me. To me, a vinyl window. So I do not think that the difference is huge. I must admit that I do notice the thickness of the meeting rails and the styles over there. But Michael has been, as both of us have inspected windows in Colonial Village after they have been installed, it is really hard to tell the difference between the aluminium being replaced with the vinyl. Like the dimensions is really hard to tell. So I think that in the scheme of things, we want to make residents feel Colonial Village was voted one of the best places in America to live. I don't know if you guys saw that, specifically Colonial Village. And we want preservation to be accessible to people. We want people to be able to use their windows. And I think that from a window standpoint, I am not, like, as a person who has restored probably 1,500 windows, this is not the hill between us and preservation.
So what about the measurements, like, are you comfortable with? So it seemed like the one you're not comfortable in is 3.5, the bottom. So are you feeling that the range of 1, 2, 6 that we've got would be okay?
So it seems like the main issue that we are seeing is the creep of the maximum, the glass to the top. And it's creeping to generally 3.25 inches. In some cases 3.5, which is 3.25 inches is free village. That is not.
Was there a dimension?
No.
Oh, but this has muttons need to be no less than 3/4, no more than 7/8.
Yeah, you're right. The second
Got it.
page says 3/4 to 7/8.
I think the muttons, they can be that. Especially like, some of, none of these are that bad, but
Yeah.
when you compare historic windows, they don't have the muntins right, like these 1/2-inch muntins, they don't look quite.
I find my bigger concern with the muntins is the profile. So when there's we have a drawing, but it doesn't necessarily specify what the profile is meant. So that's what I find to be a little difficult in terms of demanding muntins, because this one has
Currently require divided lights.
simulated.
It allows simulated.
Yeah.
Real or simulated?
Real or, oh,
True or simulated divided plates. That's in the guidelines.
Yes, the design guidelines, they're on the screen or, yeah.
I have taken one of them.
True, or for most people.
True, I don't think anybody puts true divided plates.
Probably not.
It's kind of expensive. You can do it under the guidelines.
But,
I only have a few sets.
well, we
There's
could
only-
change it to say true divided lengths. Everybody's, all these are single. Or they're supposed to be. They don't look like they are, but you say they could make them single.
Yes, I assume they could make true divided. I don't think. Sure, I think they true divided.
Myra makes true divided.
Yes, that's true
Yeah.
divided.
That's not making it accessible,
Oh,
it's
okay.
making it more stringent.
I wouldn't go over.
So Serena, I have a question that might be dumb, but the Muntin profile, like the Marvin window on the end, it looks like it's a smooth finish to the profile, whereas the one on this end, it has like dimension to it. There's depth and extra lines. The ones that are in the paradigm window, which profile is it? Is it the smoother profile?
This one, yes, but I mean, you can order those munchkins in it. You
Okay,
can get multiple.
so those are not indicative of what that only option is for them.
No, I mean,
Okay.
I believe that this is one of the ordered windows, this is the bathroom. So
Okay.
this is the munchkin. I don't know, can that be changed out, do you know? Just change this grid to take it off, the different one on. So,
See, one of the issues that I have is the one that you have there and the second one from the end. They don't look like they're inset like the other. You know, they stick out like vinyl windows, so they're really, maybe when they're installed, they would look different, but first one and the fourth one, they're inset, okay? So they look from this, my perspective. Even the third one, they stick out too, rather than being inset. I don't know if they put wood around there or how they install those. That's one of the reasons why vinyl windows sometimes don't look very good, is because they have that, they stick out, like, you know, what I'm talking about. That's right.
Yeah, right.
This cap.
So are we looking at like the only samples that are available from these particular companies? Like, for example, commented about the bottom being a little too big on the first one. So my experience with Marvin is they're pretty accommodating if you're getting enough windows, which is why I asked how many the complex needed.
But they won't be replaced on mass.
Right.
Right.
But are we looking at their only example? In other words, you know, this is an example of what they do, but there are like literally dozens and dozens. Windows.
Yeah.
Dropped off the actual.
Do they have one that? Right. It was a rhetorical question on that. Margaret isn't sending a check that I know of.
What are people's feelings about fiberglass clad other materials?
My glass on clothes.
I don't have any problems with the clad as long as it's really white. In fact, I think it looks more like a historic window
Yeah.
than any of the vinyls. But that color of white, I think.
Be problematic.
It's almost like an off-white, but
Yes.
compared to all the others, it's.
Also, the, you know, the sill, how thick it is, that's.
Yeah.
that would- Unless Marvin could make a smaller sill, like the others.
Right. That bottom rail is more normal size.
Marvin makes the mills.
So Marvin
Yeah,
has got
maybe
number
the
1
size.
and number 4 there, and the one on the fourth one is a smaller sill. Bottom, so.
But that's
they-
vinyl, correct?
Right, but they do make multiple sizes.
I think that one is the best looking one, as long as it's a real simulated divided.
Marvin is
Number
number
4,
Number 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Marvin. As long as it.
Right.
It's, then that they-
it's called the integrity. I mean, isn't that?
They go for a pretty
Mama?
strong rating. That one's still the ultimate. So I don't know what else they're going to do now. They made it the ultimate window. I guess they're gonna
Sold.
Did we see the numbers?
A little bit.
So, okay, This is very helpful, and I don't want to take us back to this, but do you think that you would notice, like, I'm really asking, not again, a rhetorical question or something. Do you think that if the mountains were on the exterior, and would you notice if you were walking by that some of the windows,
Notice what, sorry.
that the windows are different? Say, say all the mountains were on the exterior and all the mountains were the same. If you saw these windows in sets of 7 interspersed over 15 facades of garden apartments, do you think you'd be able to tell that they are different?
Those ones on the interior, definitely.
Right. If the mountains were all on the exterior and all matched.
I think the ones that stick out, you could definitely,
So these ones.
yeah, those two that you got your hands.
And the cap really, it does do something. Yeah, that's cap.
Especially if they have one building completed in the next.
Which is needed for the screens. I don't understand. That's where the screen runs up and down. And so because of this, it means the screen is operable. So you can pull that up and then clean the window, things like that. Whereas with the other ones, not an operable screen, you have to pull it out. That would be.
So then this one also would be a no-go because it has like a.
I think.
That one, to me, the profile doesn't look as bad as.
Yeah,
Those numbers 5 and 7.
Yeah, that cap is a little quieter. I don't know why.
This
Well,
versus like these two, this is too much. Not too much.
yeah, on 2, I see like less shadow lines around the cap.
And so if I move them around.
Well, I was gonna do that. So we're getting this one. So we're getting
So we need to keep.
So this one's gone?
I think we're okay with that.
Like that one.
Well, they're okay with this.
We're okay with
Yeah.
Yes. For 3, which is, and so now we are judging this just on this thing. Oh, I did that to me. Okay.
Process of elimination.
Which ones would be the most affordable, like, type of option? I'm just trying to track. How cost relative to these.
Well, well, yes, the clad are gonna cost a lot more. They're hopefully gonna last longer. Generally, I assume the vinyl windows will all cost the same. We can't actually make a decision based on cost. We need to make a decision based on preservation. Based on historic data, they were about $750 each. The Paradigm single hungs. That was pre-COVID, and since COVID, window prices are bananas off the charts. So I cannot speak to it.
Were you all saying you wanted this one out because of this large area?
I vote to take that one.
All right,
But,
doing
you
it.
know,
So on one vote.
Let's do it. Let's move
All
to
right,
it along.
thank you. All right.
Yes. An alternative to.
Yeah.
What's your last one? Draw it out for you.
Vibrant snacks. Okay, anything else jump out here? Right now, you're saying no, yes. How do you feel?
What's the rail, you only, it has to be 7/8 to 1/4, so
Yes.
bottom.
So this is 1 3/4, this is 1 3, this is 1 3/8, this is just 3/8, 3 1/2. So that doesn't qualify, this doesn't qualify, this doesn't qualify. You said it was, that is 1 3/8, 1 3/8 matches, or is it 1 1/4?
1 1/4 is the current.
1 1/4, so this is the only.
2 7/8, Total of the rail and sill, right?
Yes.
That's both the top and the bottom. Right? And the
Yeah.
sides.
These three in the middle, the only thing keeping them from being on the list is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, can anyone here tell me what, like, from 10 feet away? No. Can we just to change it to 1 3/8 inch, so we can put 3 more options on the table and let the department decide?
And we do have sign guidelines.
Anything, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know about that.
No, we can't change the guidelines tonight because that wasn't
Not
advertised.
tonight, but later we.
Potentially, that could be.
We could take an
A lot of
informal referendum
Yeah.
poll and therefore take that information, which is what I was gonna do. I was gonna take your opinions and bring them back to the Colonial Village Board and the owners and talk to them about what we said. And so then, because you can approve these via actual COA next month, and we could do the process to approve, because they can just come to us every month at this point, until we can reconsider the design guidelines.
Okay, so we're comfortable with the alternative materials. We're comfortable with the measurements as long, since they're only off by 1/8.
Are you guys really okay with the inset screening of this?
Was the proposal to change the 2 7/8 to 3 inches?
Yes, 3 1/4, I think, to give it the flexibility you need, because so 3 1/4 would just be 3/8 of an inch change.
Do you feel that you would be able to, well, we're
I
like,
thought you were talking about 3/8 is different. From 1/8. Talking about changing it by 1/8 to bring the 2 7/8 up to 3 inches, so.
So if we change it to 3, then you're right, these will qualify. 3 is fine.
But would all of them qualify if we change it to 3?
Not the
No,
plat.
that's the only one.
Yeah. Move this over, see.
it's already,
But okay, so now let's say we're looking, these were looking at either vaguely similar. Now you're seeing kind of the meeting rails on the same line, the stills on the same line. How do you think?
I don't know if I'd be able to tell, I know I can tell the difference when, but I don't know if I could, unless I was
So these are.
being a stalker.
So imagine like.
You're not seeing it.
Yeah, I think I would prefer the simpler one profile than the one with all the ribbon. But still stimulate a divided light, but I think the
Something better.
yeah.
How big are the muntins on them? They seem to me to be much bigger than the.
Montans here, we are seeing.
Yeah, they look the same.
6, 8, 8, 4.
I thought it was mine.
I'm sorry.
Right?
I know it's higher with the light.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think we're being signaled.
Quarters of it.
Like the last call.
Quarter montans. Okay, so you are, Alex Munster is proposing generally that we take a referendum upon the idea of bringing more materials into the fray and also adjusting this to allow up to 3 inches from the glass to the edge of the casing for all windows. Same dimension for muntins, same dimension expectations, the literal stills. 1,000.
If those are their requirements.
Okay. Great, simulated divided light.
Simple one.
Simple muntin profile. You also allow true divided.
Sure.
All
Did you
right,
get what you needed?
I think the All right, good doing business with you.
Okay,
right.
with that, we're adjourned. Everybody for your time and patience. And